For decades, when you thought of cars in India, you thought of one name, Maruti Suzuki. But in the electric race, they've kind of been on the sidelines. Well, that was all supposed to change in 2025 with their biggest leap yet. But what happens when that grand dream hits a very sudden, very real roadblock? Okay, let's get into it. So, it all kicked off back in January of 2025, and Maruti didn't just announce a new electric car. Oh no, they unveiled a whole vision, a complete ecosystem for electric mobility they were calling E for Me. This was them planting their flag, saying, hey, we're here to play in the EV space.
And look, this dream was serious. The E for Me strategy wasn't just about selling a few EVs. It was about building the entire world around them. We're talking brand new technology, a solid charging network, and making the switch to electric totally seamless for every Indian driver.
And this is where you really get the scale of their ambition. This was never just a car for India. It was designed from the ground up to be a global vehicle, a true made-in-India, for-the-world SUV. They were planning to export it to markets like Europe and Japan. This was meant to be a huge statement for Indian manufacturing. And right at the heart of this entire strategy was the star of the show, the Vitara. This was Maruti's first ever vehicle designed from scratch to be electric. And believe me, the hype was absolutely massive. Right away, you could see the Vitara was designed to make a splash. It didn't look like any other Maruti. It was butch, it was rugged. I mean, look at these details. That sleek gloss black front, the very cool Y-shaped lights, those big 18-inch aero alloys. It really stood out from everything else in their lineup. And the numbers, just as impressive. A claimed range of over 500 kilometers. I mean, that's a game changer, putting it right up there with the best. It came with 2 different battery options, plenty of power, and a price point that was super competitive. They were clearly aiming for the sweet spot of the market. The tech inside was a huge leap forward, too. We're talking ventilated seats, a big touchscreen, a panoramic sunroof, and, this is a big one, it was the first ever Maruti to have Level 2 ADAS safety features. So this wasn't just an EV, it was a premium, loaded to the gills kind of car. So the story was building up to this massive climax. A huge export event was all planned out for August 26th. The Prime Minister himself was set to flag off the very first shipment from their plant in Gujarat. This was supposed to be the beginning of an incredible success story. But then, the story took a very sharp turn. Just as all that excitement was reaching its peak, the entire project slammed into a sudden, totally unexpected, and massive roadblock. And then the news broke with this really stark headline from Mint. All that momentum, all those incredible plans were suddenly thrown into chaos. A crisis had popped up that threatened to completely derail Maruti's EV dream before it even got off the starting line. In June 2025, just a few months after that big, glitzy reveal, the company had to come out and make a pretty stunning announcement. Their super ambitious production plans had hit a major snag. The original plan was aggressive, to say the least. For the first 6 months of production, they were aiming to build 26,500 Vitaras. And the new reality for that same period? Just 8,221. Let's just put that into perspective for a second. That's a cut of 2/3. For every 3 cars they had planned to build, now they could only build 1. It was a massive disruption that sent shockwaves through the entire industry. So, what on earth could cause such a dramatic pullback? Well, the answer lies in a global problem with a pretty simple name, the rare earths crisis. So yeah, that is the central question, isn't it? What exactly happened here? How do you go from a prime ministerial flag-off ceremony to a massive production cut in just a matter of weeks? It all comes down to these things called rare earths. Now, the funny thing is, they aren't actually that rare in the ground, but they are incredibly difficult and messy to process. And they're a group of elements that are absolutely critical for high-tech stuff, especially for the powerful magnets that make an electric motor go. And here's where the geopolitics comes in. China, which pretty much dominates the processing of these elements, decided to put curbs on their export. This just created a huge disruption in the global supply chain. And while places like the US and Europe managed to get the licenses they needed from Beijing, India was left waiting, creating this critical shortage. And this whole crisis couldn't have hit at a worse time. Maruti's overall market share in India was already slipping, down from 51% to 41%, because competitors like Tata and Mahindra were really making moves, especially in the EV space. This delay was the absolute last thing they needed. So, with their back against the wall, what's the road ahead for Maruti and its electric dream? Is it over?
Well, the company does have a recovery plan, but wow, you look at this timeline and it is incredibly ambitious. After that disastrously slow start, they're planning to aggressively ramp up production in the second half of the year to try and hit their original annual target. That is a huge challenge with basically zero room for error.
The immediate fallout is that the launch in India is now delayed to September 2025. Bookings haven't even opened yet. All this time, competitors are getting stronger, and new players, yeah, we're talking about Tesla, are expected to enter the market. The race is getting tighter and tighter every single day.
Which leaves us with a big final question. Maruti was late to the EV party, but they were planning to arrive with a bang. Now, with this critical delay, and with the whole competitive landscape shifting so fast, can the undisputed king of Indian roads still conquer the electric future?